Do you know how woefully ignorant you are? You think you know so much. You think you know everything there is to know, everything that's important to know. But in fact, you know absolutely nothing. You amble about in your day to day life without meaning or a real sense of purpose. You try and exert your identity on the world in a fortuitous attempt to have your beliefs solidified, when you don't even know who you really are. You spend your entire life conforming to animal instincts, hopelessly trying to exert your presence onto this world. What differentiates human beings from any other species is our ability to think, our ability to know the truth behind what we perceive through our senses. But you never bothered to think about that, did you? Well, let's do exactly that in this episode of the Contrarian Podcast, where we take illusions of normalcy we have, tear them apart, and face unfiltered, unobscured reality. Welcome to the Contrarian Podcast. My name is Hriday Mehta, and this is Krish Kothari. Today, we're going to be talking about an issue that mankind has pondered over since the beginning of civilization, from the ancient Greeks, beginning with Aristotle, Socrates, and Ptolemy, to modern rock bands. This is something that people have thought about for centuries. And this question is one of the most fundamental and most important to our existence, but it's something that we have still not been able to answer. And that is the simple question: who am I? What is my existence? So, Krish, what do you think about the whole issue of existentialism? Now, Krish here is a philosophy student pursuing his Bachelor of Arts degree at Jai Hind College, and he has conducted an extensive study of various philosophies of Hinduism, of Western philosophers, and he has a lot to say on the subject. So I'm going to ask him what he thinks about the whole idea of existentialism.
What constitutes us? Like, when you look at a person, what is that person? Or when you look at like a triangle, what is that? Put names to things, we associate people to places. There's so much association going on in the world, but can we really question what we see is what it really is, or what we see is something we've given a name to it? And that's how we rise upon the question. Like, most of us do it inevitably. Most of us just have like a crisis going on, and then we ask ourselves, why do we exist? Why are we here? The existence of mankind. Does God exist? Is everything predetermined? Is everything indetermined, meaning you find yourself in places and you select where you want to go? Existentialism has been spoken widely, and the person who we are going to discuss is a French philosopher called Jean-Paul Sartre. Sorry for the pronunciation if it's wrong. And his philosophies are a culmination of Karl Marx, Edmund Husserl, and Heidegger. And he mainly talks about how man forges his identity, right? When we get to the point where we want to understand who we are, we have to break down the constituents of who we are, our experiences in this world, the people we've met, the knowledge we've gained. But we can only do this if we know that the fact, if and my understanding of it is to know how and what we constitute of is only by our own experiences. And he believes, John Paul believed that man creates a destiny for himself. A man creates his life. It's not that it's predetermined. It's that, and he talks
Okay,
about
let
this.
me just ask you a question right there. See, the thing
Yeah.
is, you spoke about people having a crisis, but I mean, at least personally, I'm not facing any kind of crisis. I am pretty happy with who I am. I mean, I live in a house. I kind of go to college. And the only crisis I'm facing right now is that I simply cannot get good avocados during this lockdown. Like, seriously, man, I gotta have those avocados. I want guacamole. That's literally the only crisis I'm having right now. So, I mean, why should a person like me care about existentialism and what our destiny is?
Well, philosophy is not for everyone. No, everyone's not thinking about why we exist. It's only for our listeners who want to know and are questioning these things. We're just exploring into this world. I mean, disclaimer to the audience, I guess. But Hriday and
Okay,
I
I'd
even
like
enjoyed
to
a
add
lot.
something to that. So, if you've ever watched a science fiction movie, which I have, I mean, I've watched a lot of them, like 2001: A Space Odyssey or Age of Ultron. Any AI or robot always begins going evil by realizing who it is, right? You always have that self-awareness phase where the robot is like, the system is like, okay, this is my destiny. I have to destroy the planet and all of that. But the thing is, how self-aware are humans exactly? Because whenever we look at the scientific aspect of it, we always categorize ourselves as a culmination of cells or as a culmination of organs. But if you look at it, we aren't really the same organs that we were 10 years ago, right? Let's take the example of Theseus' ship. So, Theseus was the mythological king of Athens. And when he came back after slaying the Minotaur, the Athenians were so proud of him that they decided to keep his ship for the next 1,000 years. Now, what they would do is that every time one of the parts of the ship got spoiled, they would replace it with an identical part and make sure the ship stayed the same. Now, the thing is, 1,000 years later, every single part of the old ship had been replaced by a new one. So, can we say that that ship is the same ship or is it a different ship? I mean, what makes that ship a ship?
At face value, that ship is the same ship, but when you really look at its inner value, part of it is the same, part of it is not. For example, if you take a person who's getting a liver transplant, right?
Okay.
He's healthy in all parts of his body. He's healthy, but except for the liver. Now you get a liver from another person. And now think about this: the liver from another dead person, that person has had his own experience. Therefore, that liver of his has had its own experiences. So when you bring it to a person with and in the body of another person who's had his own experiences, and here I'm talking about the essence of who we are. By experience, I am relating to the essence of who we are, what makes us. In this world, it's experiences that make us, let us grow, let us think. So when we bring this liver from person A to person B, is he still the same person? Or is part of him not? And if part of him is not same, then what is he?
Okay, so
Yeah.
basically, what you're suggesting is that suppose I got a liver transplant of you, then I will have some memories of what you had. I will know what it was like to eat the meals you had. I will know what it's like to have kissed your girlfriend.
No, not really, but at a cellular molecular level, I mean, are we the same? Part of me into you now. Like now that sounds wrong, but that's not what I meant.
So the thing is, I mean, our body is composed of cells, right? And the function of cells is not to store memories or to know anything. The thing is, you can create an artificial liver in a lab and it won't have any element of life in it. Like, I could take the same chemicals that make a liver, I could make a brain in the lab, but it wouldn't have that life. So, what exactly gives us that, like, what exactly makes you you? And the thing is, if you're talking about your liver changes approximately every 12 years, if I'm not mistaken. So, does that mean every 12 years your memories are getting refreshed as well?
Probably.
So, have you really experienced your memories getting refreshed? Like, are you a different Krish than you were 6 years ago?
But don't you think this happens even when we're learning, right? Like 10 years down the line, like if I think of that of me 10 years ago and the person that I am now, I am still me. My consciousness is still me, but my body part cells must have changed. My experiences, I have grown.
See, I
But at
think you
face
have
value,
read something there. When you said consciousness, what exactly do you mean when you say consciousness? Because you spoke about your body, right? And then you spoke about your consciousness. So, what you're suggesting is that the body carries out the biological functions and there is a separate entity, I mean, let's call it the consciousness only, that actually collects these experiences and that defines who you are as you. Now, if we go back to Theseus's ship, the thing is, Theseus's ship is, I mean, it's not actually a ship. So suppose I got an alien who has never seen a ship before, and I took him to Theseus's ship, right? What would he call it? For him, it's
like
just a
a
chunk of wood, right? Because he doesn't know what a ship is. So at the end of the day, we have just taken wood, which is the particle, the fundamental element that created the ship, and it's that culmination of elements that have created the ship. Now, suppose if I broke the ship down, the ship would no longer be a ship because it's just a name for that, for a wood, for the wood in that phase that we gave it, right? Like, if wood takes a certain form, it's a ship. If it takes some other form, it's a table. And these are just
yeah.
names that we have given the ship.
So I have
Sorry.
a film reference. I have a Netflix reference. Have you ever seen Altered Carbon?
No, I have not.
Okay, so to all the listeners and viewers out there who have ever seen Altered Carbon will know that they live in a world where it's so advanced now, where your body is considered a sleeve. It's a sleeve, or it's like this T-shirt I'm wearing, right? And I can change it. If it gets spoiled, if it tears, I can change it. But what constituents in the human body, the thinking, the emotions, is your consciousness. So the sleeve can keep changing. The sleeve can evolve, the sleeve can get worse. It could be in any size and form, but the consciousness is the same. The experiences are the same. The emotions are the same. So everything, at face value could change, or it could be named something else. But do we really change? Or to question you again is, are we still the same people as in when our face value changes, or are we not?
Also,
Are
I
we?
wanted to ask you about this consciousness. So the thing is, you speak of the consciousness like it's something separate from the body, right? Like you have the body and then you have the consciousness. But here's the thing: I can see my body, I can feel my body moving around, but I cannot see my consciousness. Like there's nothing, there's no cloud of knowledge that I can see in front of me or in anyone else that actually should lead me to believe that there is a consciousness. There is something like a consciousness. So, I mean, why should I believe that there are two separate entities? Like, I came into existence when I was born, right? And I will go out of existence when I die. So, why aren't my body and this consciousness the same thing? So, the thing is, when people die, like, the euphemism for death is to say they've gone, or they've left their body, or they've gone to a better place. Now, why do
Past.
people say that? If your body is buried, I mean, technically you've gone under the ground, right? Or like you've gone into a pit of burning fire.
Yeah, we just turned into ashes.
So, I think that answers the question I had asked you earlier about why we say there are two separate entities, is because if your body was the soul, like this consciousness, soul, whatever you're going to call it, like Eastern philosophers call it the stone, West. Did I just say stone? I think we're stoned.
Yeah, we just
But
said.
if Eastern philosophers call it the soul, and Western philosophers call it the consciousness, the mind, whatever, the thing is, it is made up of something that is not like physical atoms, if you get what I'm saying. Like, suppose I took the same ship, I took the wood from that ship, and I cut it down into a million pieces. At the end of the day, everything is made up of atoms, right? And I can change the proton number if I have really advanced technology, turn that wood into gold. But at the end of the day, the elements that comprise of it are the same. So the same way, there is one element which embodies this consciousness. And even though it lies in different people, like it could be in you or it could be in me, at the end of the day, fundamentally, our physical forms are made up of atoms, and our consciousness is made up of that one single element. And that's one element they did not show on the periodic table.